Introduction. I have lost my hearing. Kind of. Maybe a good 60 to 70% of my hearing is gone. Perforation in the right ear, 80% large, said my doctor. And bacterial infection on the left, which seems to not heal despite what my doctor tried doing with it. So yes, I lost my hearing abilities. Kinda depressing because I love listening to music and playing music. Well, to be honest, not really kinda depressing. It is freakingly depressing. So, for fun, because I'm not sure what's gonna happen to me if I was going deaf, I thought to myself, well, if this is the last time I'm gonna be able to hear good music, I should listen to my favorite singer, Chris Cornell. And so there I was, sitting on my messy room, drinking my special mix of homemade orange juice and tequila, and listening to Chris Cornell's Black Hole Sun played on acoustic, full blast on my very big cheap headphones. It never really occurred to me the deeper meaning of this song so far, but I love this song so much. For me, that song and any other Chris Cornell songs were just for entertainment. Then, listening and drinking activity kinda became a philosophical trip. Philosophically and psychologically, I never really bothered to dig deeper into the meaning of Black Hole Sun. What Chris wanted to say in that song, I kinda know a little. This is not to say that I didn't think about the meaning behind the lyrics. I sorta knew the general theme and ideas of these songs, of course. But something became very clear to me during that night of listening to this song.
Times are gone for honest men, and sometimes far too long for snakes.
I was not sure why the line was highlighted by my drunk brain, but a lot of different meanings came flashing to me like billions and billions of beams of light. My brain got burnt good. Or maybe I was just drunk and tripping. I don't know. Or was this happening to me because of my mental state that time? Drunk and hazed, broken, beaten and scarred? Was this euphoria drowning me with meaning? Or maybe I understood what I think the song means because I'm filled with annoyance and anger from people who I thought I could trust. I was not really sure, but I was sure of this. Despite being drunk, I became hyper-focused that time when this line played. Times are gone for honest men, sometimes far too long for snakes. This line, to me at least, meant that my environment has become more of a "for myself I will trample you, I will hurt you, I will destroy you, for myself to feel better and to win over you, and to do that I will annihilate you, for myself I will abandon you and ignore the suffering I will cause you." So, I thought, was Chris trying to explain his frustrations about the kind of society he was in when he wrote that line of that song? Was Chris trying to communicate to the listener that the time of honest men is now long gone, sometimes way too long that snakes thrive, and they exploit and hurt others for their selfish interests? I was not surprised actually to have had that thought. I kinda knew already the lyrics, to be honest. Of course, not the bigger theme, but I knew that song was filled with angst, pain, melancholy, mourning, and depression. I've been listening to him since my university days, and it's the same feelings I have now when I listened to him before and now. So this gave me the idea, since I didn't really explore the meaning of Chris Cornell's songs, what if I try to explain for myself why I find some of Chris Cornell's songs beautiful despite it being hauntingly depressing? This video is all about that, a conversation I had with myself, to try to make it more of a presentation. This video is all about that, a conversation I had with myself. To try to make this video more of a presentation, and not all about my opinion, I scavenged for articles written about the same thing, the same topic, and surprisingly, there is actually an abundance of articles and discussion boards exploring the same topic I want to talk about here. There are even 2 academic research papers trying to explain the connection of depression states expressed in Chris's songs and tried connecting it to his passing. I'm not surprised to that. Which brings me to this. I'm not gonna talk about the passing of Chris Cornell. I don't want to feel sad again remembering the day we lost a great voice. So this video is going to focus more on the haunting and depressing songs, but very beautiful songs of Chris Cornell. Chapter 1: Chris and His Demons. First, I had to try to understand the man himself. I want to talk a little bit more about Chris Cornell, either from interviews he did or articles written about him. Any interview report or quotes about his songs will do. This is to sort of establish the idea that Chris's songs are indeed hauntingly depressing. I want to clarify something first though. Just because his songs contained dark moods doesn't mean I am claiming that he was shouting for help or that he was crying depression and that we should have noticed it way before his eventual passing. Nobody knew that would happen. Nobody knew exactly what Chris was thinking or feeling. Only the man himself knew. Also, I couldn't find any intimate interviews or articles where he would ask for help for what he was going through, despite Chris always being deep, thoughtful, and graceful in his interviews. Second, I am not trying to glorify Chris Cornell's struggle, nor am I romanticizing it. Depression is a very serious thing. I am not trying to promote that tired old cliche of troubled rock stars. I am just trying to share my experience with the songs. Unfortunately, these songs would include the sad ideas from and about Chris's life, which he preserved within his lyrics. So yeah, there is plenty of information from many articles and discussion boards talking about Chris's experience with dark moods, sad states, and depressing moments. So a little bit about Chris Cornell. At the age of 12, Cornell had access to alcohol and marijuana. He used them daily by 13, stopped for a year, but relapsed at age 15 for another year until he turned to music. Later on in his life, Cornell would struggle with alcohol, drugs, and depression. Chris is quoted saying, "I went through a serious crisis with depression where I didn't eat a whole meal every day. I was just kind of shutting down. I eventually found that the only way out of that was to change virtually everything in my life. That was a very frightening thing to do, but it was worthwhile." End quote. During this journey through his dark period of his life, Chris had encapsulated the demons he was battling within the songs he wrote. This kinda reminds me of Picasso when he encapsulated his depression within his paintings during his blue period, where it's just like maybe F. Scott Fitzgerald, who still managed to write The Great Gatsby despite struggling with alcoholism and mental health issues. Anyway, here's another quote from one of the studies I found talking about Chris's struggles in relation to his songs. Quote, "Cornell struggled with mental illness and addiction and incorporated these themes into his song lyrics. This study revealed that Cornell's songs reflect a narrative of negativity consistent with someone experiencing depression and thoughts of death and suicide. Like personal notes and poems, song lyrics might reflect symptoms of depression and suicidal thoughts, warranting clinical attention." End quote. Chris wrote about what he felt and what he thought. Was it because feeling depressed and isolated became normal to him? I say this because he has publicly talked about his depression on a couple of occasions in some of his past interviews. Quote, "People just don't realize how much fun it is to be depressed," he says with a grin. This from the man whose moods may have had as much historical impact on the gloominess of Northwest rock as the surfeit of negative ions in the air. Reclusivity can become self-perpetuating. End quote. The songs that he wrote, which contained his demons, made Chris the sort of a patron saint for depressed poets. A poet who filled blank pages with words about his struggles and about his tortured soul. Cornell allowed us, his listeners, to have a glimpse into the depths of his mind and his struggles. That being said, I feel like we should appreciate more of the artist. It's better to appreciate Chris Cornell as an artist rather than focus more on the negative things that came with his untimely death. His lyrics also revealed to us a profound understanding that Chris is not only this great artist, but at the same time a warrior battling his demons every day. Quote, "I know what it feels like to be suicidal, and I know what it feels like to be hopeless. No one really knows what run-of-the-mill depression is. You'll think somebody has run-of-the-mill depression, and then the next thing you know, they're hanging from a rope. It's hard to tell the difference." End quote. There are two academic papers available online that deeply analyzed some of Chris's songs. I have the links in the description below if you are interested more into what the statistics and psychology has to say about his songs in depth. But, in short, both papers do suggest that the lyrics that Chris wrote indeed contain the many phases of depression, dark thoughts, despair, and agonizing feelings. Chapter 2: The Sound of Anguish. I want to talk a little bit about his singing. I sing a little, but I'm not an expert on analyzing singing and styles. All I can do is interpret what I saw and heard based on my experience and from the experiences of other people. And the way Chris sings, I thought it's one of the greatest. Many people agree that he is one great singer, one of the best rock voice, if not the greatest voice in rock history. But at the same time, his singing is somewhat of a sound of anguish when he is singing slow tempo, and somewhat of a fury when he is singing his heavy songs, especially when he makes these screams that sound raspy and hurt. That is something else coming from him. Have you ever heard a person shout so loud because they got hurt? It's the same feeling I get when Chris shouts and reaches those high notes. I am more affected emotionally and mentally with his slow songs, however. Those that sound like ballads about life, death, pain, and regret. These songs, at least for me, have the power to crush my heart and make me feel melancholic. To a point I just wanna sit down, alone, isolated from the world, and just listen to Chris sing his songs. Combined with the haunting lyrics he wrote, his raw, rough, and deep singing style really does make the song he's singing highly evocative. His ability to go high and low, his ability to sound clean and distorted, his ability to sound warm and cold, creates within the listener a clear imagery of the struggle the man himself is facing. That is, if we allow ourselves to just sit down and listen to him sing. Everything becomes clear if we just listen. That he was talking about depression, anguish, angst, and despair. And as he grew older, and his voice became huskier and breathy, the sound of anguish became clear. Very clear, at least for me, when I listen to him. The best I can describe this that I feel or see or understand from his song and his singing style can be observed when you listen to his live performance of Show Me How to Live.
I deal with stolen parts, a telephone in my heart. Someone get me a breeze to put my mind to bed. This ringing in my head, is this a cure or is this a disease?
Chapter 3: Analyzing 3 songs by Chris Cornell. I will try to analyze 3 songs: Black Hole Sun, Like a Stone, and I Am the Highway. Some opinions about the songs are mine, but I will also pepper in this essay resources I found online. All the links are in the description below. Analyzing Black Hole Sun. It's already a known story that Chris came up with the song in his car while he was driving home one night in the city. Quote, I wrote it in my head driving from Bear Creek Studio in Woodinville, a 35 to 40 minute drive from Seattle. It sparked from something a news anchor said on TV and I heard wrong. I heard, blah blah blah, Black Hole Sun, blah blah blah. I thought that would make an amazing song title. What would it sound like? End quote. According to Chris, the song was just a surreal dreamscape, a weird play with the title kind of song. Cornell added, quote, lyrically, it's probably the closest to me just playing with words for words' sake of anything I've written. I guess it worked for a lot of people who heard it, but I have no idea how you'd begin to take that one literally. End quote. The song at first glance in itself is very attractive, especially if you see pictures and words. The lyrics and melody are quite playful and imaginative. The song lyric is visual, and if you think about the song, it makes sense even if the literal meaning of the lyrics seem to mean nothing if you listen to it for the first time. which Chris confirmed in another interview, saying that that hit song should be congruent and identifiable. But Black Hole Sun is not congruent, it's not identifiable. Quote, the chorus lyrics kind of beautiful and easy to remember. Other than that, I sure didn't have an understanding of it after I wrote it. I was just sucked in by the music and I was painting a picture with the lyrics. There was no real idea to get across. End quote. There is somewhat a visceral feel to the song for me. I understood the line, times are gone for honest men, even if I didn't explain it to myself the first time. Even if I don't go deep, Black Hole Sun has definitely some sad and gloomy themes in it that I can't help but feel. Yes, the chorus is very much inviting and very beautiful, but the totality of the song, every time I listen to it, makes me feel dread and powerless to do something about things that I'd wish for the sun or the black hole or a combination of both to just come and consume everything and destroy everything, both good and bad. Chris said about the song, quote, no one seems to get this, but Black Hole Sun is sad. But because the melody is really pretty, everyone thinks it's almost cheaper, which is ridiculous. End quote. To me, Black Hole Sun is that moment in our life when there's too much crap happening to us and we feel like the weight of the world is too much, or the world itself is against us, or the world is ignoring us to despair, while allowing those who exploit others succeed. That song for me is somewhat of a prayer to end all. Not everybody is lucky in life. Not everyone is born into rich families. Not everyone has connections. Not everyone is part of a secret group who helps only their members. Not everyone is born pretty and handsome. Not everyone is born with courage to face life through any means necessary. Not everyone fits within the society they are born into. Some suffer more than others. So, they become disillusioned. They feel chained. They feel caged. They feel angry and difficult. And so, they try to find ways to deal with all these negative thoughts and feelings. Some through art, some through drinking, experimenting, and some opt out.
Boiling heat, a summer stench. Neath the black, the sky looks dead. Call my name through the cream, and I'll hear you scream again.
And because these others suffer too much when alcohol and other things don't work anymore, they pray.
Black hole sun, won't you come? Wash away the rain. Black hole sun, won't you come? Won't you come? Won't you come?
That's how I understood that song. Analyzing like a stone. Now, this is one of my favorite Chris Cornell songs, Like a Stone. It makes me feel more introspective than any other Chris Cornell songs. The general meaning of the song, according to Chris, is that it's about a man sitting in a hotel room contemplating about death, as his friends and family passed away before him. The man just sits and waits for his death. Quote, the man in the song is also thinking about different possibilities after death. That maybe there are other explanations or answers about the afterlife besides what the traditional monotheistic or polytheistic or philosophical narratives that has been offered to us. End quotes. The first time I heard this, I admit I thought the song was a love song or that type. A song about a man waiting patiently in a room, longing to be in the arms of his special someone. But yeah, listening to the song many times now, how I viewed that song has changed within me, especially when I experienced losing loved ones. The song has revealed its real face to me. I want to focus on these lines, the last verse and the chorus. This is what I think about the song. It always gives me the feeling of isolation and longing for meaning, and sometimes the thirst for connection. But the connection not necessarily to people. The connection I am longing for, or maybe other people long for, is to meaning and to something that is beyond the mundane human experience. Those kinds of connections that makes it worthwhile to suffer. Those kinds of connections is what I'm longing for. And just like the man in that song, on I read about many things, spending many hours and days to try to find something that could help explain existence, give answers to our questions about why. And maybe I will have to keep reading on until I die, and search for any explanation that could tell me why I feel like I'm just drifting miserably through existence as people move on, as we live and die. And because I feel this way, I understand what it means to suffer. And because I understand what it means to suffer, I either help others understand their own suffering, or sometimes I myself cause suffering to others. And I sat in regret of all the things I have done, despite me thinking I found answers out of my misery. For all that I have blessed, with the humble knowledge I have found, or earned, or shared, and for all that I have wronged, when my own misery became a monster that hurt others, still I sit in regret for all the things I have done. But even if I help or hurt others, all of this do not bring me satisfaction. I still feel isolated and miserable, alone and regretful. So I cry out, I pray, I hope, I wail. In your house I long to be, room by room, patiently. I'll wait for you there like a stone. I will wait for you there, alone. And that's how I understand like a stone. Analyzing I Am the Highway. This is another favorite song. The general and obvious meaning we can derive from the song is to not give your gifts and treasures to people who do not care about you or who do not care as much as you do. The chorus actually makes that idea very obvious. Quote, the song opens with the lyric, "Pearls and swine, bereft of me," which is a biblical reference to Jesus' Sermon on the Mount from Matthew chapter 7 verse 6, which states, "Do not throw pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet." In other words, don't share anything of value with someone who refuses to appreciate it. Here's what I think about the song. There will be people who will take you for granted. People who are willingly and consciously misunderstand your imperfections as an attack or toxicity towards them. But the same people are also very open to accept love, care, and gifts, the treasures, the attention you give them. But in the end, they cannot open themselves up to see and understand what you tried doing for them. Because for them, no matter how small or big your failures are, you're still worth nothing. And so, you wander and experience all the suffering alone as you continue moving on and living.
I was lost in the cities alone, in the hills, no sorrow or pity, only vain feeling.
Relationships are not perfect, whatever kind of relationship. But imperfections shouldn't be an excuse for others to treat others as if they were replaceable cogs of a machine. Or that imperfections shouldn't be the reason for others to treat others to feel miserable. But, from all the BS a person goes through, at the same time, the individual handing out pain should also understand something very important.
I am not your rolling wheels. I am the highway. I am not your carpet ride. I am the sky.
If one understands their self-worth, their value, then things can turn out to be fine. Only the self can save itself, or at least lessen the pain. Not necessarily healed 100%, but at least by knowing that you have worth after being ruined, you can somewhat move on from all the pain caused by others when they treat you like they're rolling wheels or carpet ride. What I like about this song is it tells me that others will always treat us like crap. Maybe worthless fools, not worthy of their time and thoughts. But the song still encourages the listener. It tells us that we are worth something. We are not the wheels of other people. We are the highway. We are not the flying carpets of other people to be used. We are the sky. Our value as individuals need not be tied to what people see or think of us. The song is empowering for me. The song tells the listener that everything will be okay, even if long and weary my road has been. Yes, people will take you for granted, but the song implies that there is salvation, and there is salvation. It might not be how you imagined salvation to be. It is not a perfect salvation, but it is still salvation. The song says,
Friends and liars don't wait for me, 'cause I'll get on all by myself.
this is the truth about our salvation. Most of the time, we have to move on our own, even if it means others will have to be away and ahead of us. In that we will be left behind as we try to salvage what is left from us from our ruin. But I think that's a part of trying to solve our misery. We have to move on following our own pace and not rely on others too much. Because some of these others can also just serve us suffering, like what others did. Because these others might also just take us for granted. I was lost in the cities, alone in the hills. No sorrow or pity for leaving, I feel. This salvation does not come easy as you can see. It does not even come fast or heal as fast. It might not even come from others as mentioned earlier. It will have to come from us. This makes finding our salvation a little bit harder. We will be miserable as we go through the process of trying to save ourselves. This is an assurance. And it's also an assurance that even if we finally get out from our misery, it doesn't mean that we are fully healed. A person never really comes out the same after surviving his or her ruin.
I put millions of miles under my heels and still too close to you. I feel it.
It's our nature to remember memories and feelings, be they may painful or traumatic. So even if we think we survive and are healed, we will still feel the pain from the past. We are still too close to that thing that hurts us or the people who hurt us. They will still remind us of what happened to us. That after we dig ourselves out from the grave of misery, the ghosts of the past will still haunt us. That's why we have to keep moving on. We have to keep putting millions of miles under our heels. And you can be angry as a lightning if you want to, or as silent as the night if you want to. That will be your choice. The most important thing is we have to move on and survive. And of course, to understand that we have value. Know our self-worth.
Well, I am not your blowing wind. I am the lightning. I am not your autumn moon. I am the night. The night.
And that's how I understand I Am the Highway by Chris Cornell. Conclusion. I have been a fan of Chris Cornell for many, many years now. Listening to him sing and listening to his songs, I realized that what he was singing were vehicles of expressing the chaos that is human emotions and human experience, and that his songs were records of what Chris was going through, and we can relate to the humanness of his words and his songs. And millions of people can relate to the lyrics, his words, and his singing. Millions of people found deep and intimate connection to Chris and his songs, despite not knowing the guy personally. With his songs, Chris was able to foster a sense of shared vulnerability, even if the connection is parasocial. What I feel or felt listening to Chris's songs and to his voice, those selfish feelings I had, the intimate thoughts I had, the dark and deep emotions, they were all real because it is reflected, it is echoed in the songs of Chris Cornell. Many people also have the same experience as I do. Many of us find his songs therapeutic, at least for me. His songs, his music keeps offering a solace and protection from the grips of the darker and unintelligible days, at least for me. And I guess it was also true for Chris Cornell. Maybe writing those songs and singing them allowed him to externalize his inner being and releasing them as songs to which the song vibrations and frequency millions of people could attune to, even to now. Chris turned his personal struggles into universally relatable narratives for all of his listeners then and now to understand, to feel, to consume and accept and believe in. And by doing so, maybe Chris found strength and hope. And by doing so, he transcended being more than just an entertainer. His songs are philosophical reflections of our human experience, capturing the essence of our darker moments and then going through introspection, all for the search for meaning and understanding of our mortal life. Through his art, Cornell invited listeners to confront their own demons, as I did to mine because of his songs. His songs gave me the courage to face my demons. For me, listening to Chris and his songs, swimming through his universe of thoughts and ideas, it made me understand the freedom I can actually choose to have. A freedom that can take me